Two quick videos before I go to bed. This is going to be if you want to use melee on a character, a build I would use, and it's going to be the Dragon Knight build once more. You don't have to use this as your main character, alright? It's perfectly fine for you to change things. I'm just going to explain kind of why this was and also why I got so much backlash when I posted this before. The Dragon Knight is an alts character that I used um, basically to help supplement my character while I was leveling up his skills in game. And personally is my favorite build out of all of them. The only issue is currently you cannot level your intelligence, so he was stuck and not able to get intelligence skills. And I understand that, and that's where everyone's backlash came from me not having higher intelligence to get the max skills possible. Now, I agree, but also I'm going to explain why it isn't necessary as well. In this thing, eventually at some point, I believe they're going to make it to where you can increase intelligence in game. If that does happen, then this will probably be my starting build because I don't necessarily care about how hard it is to level because there's nothing really in intelligence that's that hard to level in general. Just a little time consuming. So for a melee build, I go 1.5 intelligence. This is the biggest controversial thing. All right. You can do whatever you want here. This is just what I do. I also go to 1 dexterity. And then I go either 5 or 4.5 strength or 5 and 4.5 con. This is your choice, whichever you want to make. You can go advanced brawling and medium melee and level up your melee all the way, or you can go advanced melee and level up your brawling later, because brawling isn't necessarily the most useful thing in the world, to be honest, but brawling is harder to level than melee, okay? Constitution wise, for the Dragon Knight build, you'll see the big difference between like my main ultimate character leveling build and my Dragon Knight build is that for the Dragon Knight, I go 100% advanced running, and then I go at least medium endurance. Now, if you go 5 Constitution, you can get the extra 4% or whatever on the endurance. That's great, but personally, I go for the 5 strength. Now, when we go into the actual character stats, what I did was I went advanced melee and medium brawling. This is going to give you, 340,000 or something points out of this. So you're still going to have to take, 20 something hours or whatever to finish leveling up this brawling skill. Now, if you want to level, like if you want to train something and you want it to be easier to level, then you drop this and you do advanced brawling because a melee is a lot easier to level. You can attack a lot faster with a melee weapon, and it's a lot easier to passively farm this. If you set up a macro to auto attack a dead puppet body, and the puppet body can be jammed in a corner or something to where it doesn't move around too much, you can passively level this, and I believe you get 17 per hit on here. So let's go ahead and take the calculator real quick and say that you start with 34,000 points or whatever. That means you're going to need, 760,000, and you divide that by 17. That's 44,205 hits. And let's say that you do a hit a second, and we divide that, and then we divide that. That is 12 hours. Okay? So this is the difference. To get a skill from medium to advanced with melee or brawling takes like 30 hours. From 0 to basic takes 1, from basic to medium takes about 4 or 5, and then from medium to advanced takes about 30 hours. So now the two skills that take the longest to level in strength are melee and brawling, and out of these two, brawling is the easiest one to level because it attacks faster. You can kill puppets faster if you want to just kill puppets for XP. That is completely up to you. But for this purpose, we're going to be showing how much damage and stuff you can do. So we're going with advanced here. Now you want max running and the rest in endurance because this is going to give you the most movement speed possible. And as a melee character, you need as much movement speed as possible. I cannot stress this enough. You need movement speed. You need movement speed. You need movement speed. Okay. Now the other thing is that we got 4.5 con. You're losing 5 HP at the beginning of the game. That isn't the hugest deal, okay? Compared to someone taking 3 endurance, you're still getting 15% more HP than them instead of 20%, but 5 HP isn't the biggest thing here, and you're losing a little bit of stamina, but that isn't the biggest thing either. You can get this to 5 within a day or two, okay? That isn't the big stress with the Dragon Knight build, all right? Um, Now here, this is optional. It doesn't really matter. Personally, when my Dragon Knight, I did throwing. I understand throwing is very easy to level, and it isn't the best skill. If you're lock picking, probably best to just go with thievery and then level it up into a medium or whatever. Or controversially, what I probably would have did is just go ahead. If I read it, if I remade the Dragon Knight right now, I would go basic driving, basic motorcycling. So I don't have to deal with stalling or anything like that, and I can use vehicles at the very beginning of the game and be perfectly fine. Um, Now, Dex at 1, this is going to take you a week or two probably to level. This is the biggest controversy here, but it all depends on how long you AFK or if you want to AFK or not. If you don't AFK, it's going to take you a couple weeks, but you don't have to do anything to level this dex skill up, which is fine. Now, what this build does is that you have the maximum attack speed and attack damage here with melee weapons, and you have dex that is going to level up and give you the maximum attack speed and stuff here within a couple weeks, as well as boost your movement speed and everything else. And then intelligence, these are all optional, but I went awareness because my ult character, I didn't want to have to take any time to go and passively level a skill, so I went awareness. Now, controversially, you could go medical. You could go basic medical or medium medical. I mean, at least give you some sort of healing benefit and no negative side effects here. That's probably would be my suggestion to you. Now, if you do happen to want to use some guns, you could go engineering, or if you want to be able to craft this basic. But these are really easy to level, so I wouldn't worry about that. If you want to be a sniper partially, then you could go ahead and get basics or basic sniping or medium sniping or whatever, but just go with awareness. Now you might be thinking, I can never get advanced awareness. That's going to make my character super weak or whatever in PvP. I will tell you right now, it's not that bad. Okay. I hardly see a difference between even no skill and awareness when it comes to PvP because the people generally run at me and I hear them and it's fine. But with medium awareness, I've been able to be in a bunker and hear somebody walking around and stuff perfectly fine all the way across the bunker, like a pretty good distance. All right. At least within a couple rooms. Now, you might not be able to hear as far as someone else, but that's just the price you pay. Now, if they ever add more intelligence to the game and you're able to level this up, then this isn't going to be hard to level. All these skills here, very easy to get to advanced. Even medical, you can get to advanced in a reasonable amount of time. The main thing is that you're not going to be using medical as much as the melee skills, um, but in a survival build, like the ultimate survival build, I personally prefer to go with advanced medical over everything or survival. But for melee power, this is what we do. All right. So I apologize, you're going to have to hear the AI, but we're going to go in here and we're going to showcase a couple of different things for the melee and go over a few things. So I'm going to show you my typical Dragon Knight setup that I use. He does main bow, okay? Now, with melee damage, yes, you can just use pure melee weapons, but I would suggest being able to soften up your target or at least cripple them to help you close the distance. And so a gun or a bow can be very beneficial in doing that. And the reason this build is really strong is because one shot with a bow can already almost kill somebody. One shot with an improvised shotgun or a improvised pistol can almost kill somebody, and then one or two hits from your sword can almost kill somebody. So you mix those together and you get a pretty potent combination where if you land one ranged attack on somebody, then they're basically going to have to run or decide to try and kill you outright. And if they take the time to heal, then it gives you a chance to close the gap. And as if you hit them in the leg, they're not going to be able to get away from you. So it gives you a really big power buff here. Now the other thing is that the Dragon Eye build is a very, very strong PvP build at the very beginning of the game, even without the medical skill, specifically because you're able to use every weapon in the game effectively. Now, you may be thinking, well, you can't go full auto with rifles, but the thing is that with this, you don't have to go full auto with rifles, nor would I even suggest going full auto in rifles um, in general right now. The main thing is that, especially with like a 5 intelligence character or a 3 intelligence character, if you're going for like thievery and all that stuff, you're going to take all your strength points out anyway, and you need to focus on sniping and stuff at the beginning of the game. You don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable situation to where you're face to face with a bunch of players and you're going to have to decide what you want to do because you don't have the actual skill to fight in the close combat situations. Now, with a melee character, you have a very, very good set of skills that you can use for any situation at the very beginning of the game. For long range sniping, even without a suppressor, you can automatically use the 100-pound ballista bow. All right. It's not optimal, but you can use it, and it is very, very effective. And then once you get bow skill fully leveled up, you can rapid fire the bow skill. Okay, these spawns are terrible. See if we can go to a 0.
Secure communication with human asset established. Greetings, human asset. Welcome to Scum Island tutorial protocol provided by the Tech One Corporation. My designation is Dual Energetic Entity Neural Appliance or DENA. I am an artificial intelligence created by the Tech One Corporation tasked with overseeing the Scum Show protocols, including the preparation of human assets. If you wish to activate the tutorial, please do so on your journal interface. Secure channel closed.
Okay. Quiver. These aren't the arrows I normally use, but I'm just going to show you this. Okay, so this right here is the bulk of what I use for the knife build. Okay. Now, why I would say that you could potentially bring sniping at the beginning of the game instead of awareness is that the breath hold is going to be a lot better. And if you're using a bow and not an optic at the beginning of the game, if you do bring sniping, it will allow you to hold this up a little bit. So, Flinch's range check and ability to hold breath. It's not the most important thing in the world, though, so don't really worry about it. Now, what this does is it gives you a few options here, and we're going to showcase a little bit here. So we need to do M16s. M16. Boom. Okay. And we need to do that. M16. M16. And okay. So here's what I'm going to show you at first. All right, with this character at the very beginning of the game, you're going to be able to hear pretty much fine for the most part. You're not going to have that big of an issue. This right here is going to level at 0.24. So every few hours you're going to be able to get a couple points in this. I have a character that I play off and on. He leveled up a couple points in a couple of days. This you can level pretty much in a day. This you will actually level and get like 0.1 and stuff pretty quickly, to be honest. Um, and so our movement speed, our base is 27.4. And once Dex gets to 5, this will be up in the 30s, 32, and you're going to have this running speed. So at the beginning of the game, you're not going to be the fastest, but this character does have a lot of potential, especially for an alt. But if they add intelligence scaling, you're still going to be able to get this. Now, the reason I'm going to tell you that it's not really that important if you don't care about the intelligence skills being maxed to get this, all right? For bunkers and anything like that, you can hear pretty darn well with just medium awareness, okay? Camouflage, defeating camouflage, right now it doesn't really work anyway, but camo's only good for one shot as long as you're looking at them in the first place. And a lot of people don't actually stay still because it's a big risk. So, although camouflage is good, it's still risky, and the person shooting at you, it, it's good for one shot at least, and it's good for repositioning and getting the drop on somebody. But I don't think it's going to be the biggest deal, especially with a melee build. Engineering, getting to medium is going to allow you to get access to craftable, the 50 cal pistol and the improvised shotgun if you do happen to want to use some firearms. Now, me personally, what I'm going to tell you is that with a melee character, Those guns are the best. I like them even more than fully automatic guns and stuff. Um, they do not jam and they do not break. You can keep using them forever. So for a very low end budget character, you can actually use those guns for a very, very long time and get a lot of potential profit off of those selling all the ARs. Because as far as I'm concerned, ARs are a beginner gun. Okay? And I'm going to explain that for a minute. Anyone can spawn into the game and use ARs. Anyone can come in and use an assault rifle. Okay? Even if you have no strength, you can use a sniper or an AR and single fire very, very easily. So it does not require the skill unless you're going to go full auto. And if you're going full auto, then you're going to be using a lot of ammo. Um, Now, what I'm going to tell you right now. So this is a bow you can get at the beginning of the game, and you can see with 5 strength, you can use this at the very beginning of the game very well. These are metal arrows. Now your attack range will not, your attack range will be fine. Your shooting speed will not be very fast. But these arrows do a tremendous amount of damage, which we will show with a puppet real quick. Armored puppet. All right. Now this bow can use quite a few different arrow types, but you can see you can two-shot armored puppets, which means that you're going to be able to mess up players pretty good. Now we're going to go for chest shots. 3, 4. Not too shabby. And 3 to the leg. That gives you a decent option for a melee or any sort of range battle at the very beginning of the game right there. All right. So that's just something for you to know right off the beginning of the game, that you could take out puppets very, very easily with that bow, and you can find those bows everywhere. You do not need to actually use them. Now, the other thing you need to know is that there's a very, I like looking at specific traits to skills when I make builds. So why exactly would you take a certain build or skill over a different build or skill? What is unique to that skill? You can see this happen in a lot of different games, shooters, MOBAs like League of Legends, etc. It is good to kind of think about what you're using and why it's effective. Okay, so when you think about a melee weapon, what exactly is it that is useful and effective? One, doesn't require ammo. Two, um, does high damage, close range very rapidly. All right. Three, I mean, it's pretty easy to find melee weapons, so you got the availability of the actual weapons of themselves, which makes you a very lethal threat, even if you are just a naked guy running around and you get the drop on somebody. Uh, and then when we look at one very unique special characteristic of a melee weapon, I'm going to show you here in a second. Now we're going to look at 2 different types of melee weapons with it. I'm going to use the medieval sword because that is personally my favorite weapon in the game for melee. I find it all the time. I keep them stocked up. Very versatile in the fact that you can use it for all kinds of things, and even when it's low durability, you can sell it to get a little bit of extra money, maybe buy some food if you need to. Um, I want to use the katana. Okay, I mean, let's try the katana and let's try the two-handed metal axe. Okay, so these are going to be some contenders for melee weapons. Now we're going to go ahead and pick up this. So we have no rifle skill and we have 5 strength, and this thing should be on full auto. Now, I don't have anything specifically set up here. I have not been engaged in a lot of PvP to get my settings fully fledged out. I do help with base raids and things, but I have not went super competitive with my build. But we're going to say at longer ranges, you're going to be doing single fire. Medium ranges, let's say to this tree, and we're going to see just, how I do here. So there's a lot of side-to-side recoil. That's probably the biggest takeaway that I can get there. Now, from what I can tell you, the up and down recoil was not too bad. The side-to-side was pretty bad. Now, from videos and things that I've seen, not necessarily that I've tested, but just people showcasing bullet trajectories using the guns with different stats, the actual vertical recoil is lowered with strength quite a bit, but the side-to-side recoil is lowered with the actual rifle skill. So what does that tell us? That means we should probably use single fire. All right. Now what I'm going to tell you is when we go and look at these weapons over here, their durability is 100%, no damage. So now let's say you get into a fight. Now, I'm not going to say you're the most effective with that, but you can use these guns very effectively in combat. All right, you don't need to go full auto. Yes, would full auto kill the person faster? Sure. But you can land 3 or 4 shots pretty quickly. All right, and if they go full auto and you dive back and cover, it's not that big of a deal. Now, you may be wondering, why do I carry a spear with me? All right, my main loadout has an improvised pistol, a spear, a sword, and a bow. The sword is easy to stash in my backpack or easy to drop, not a big deal. The spear is very versatile, and also I can drop it to pick up a better gun, such as that M4 or whatever, or M16, and then I can go sell that at the market and recraft my spear, and I'm golden. All right. The ballista bow, I could drop that and probably not worry about it too much, not that big of a deal. But what you need to know with melee is you need to be able to catch your enemy. And the big thing, even though the spear does not do much damage, it has range. And when you're trying to do melee in PvP situations, I'm finding that it's very difficult to catch these guys and hit them with a close range melee weapon, especially at the beginning. So if you have a player that's running from you, you want to be able to chase them and hit them with this spear. And once you get them kind of hurting and locked up, this is your spear, this is your chasing weapon, okay? So you can use it very effectively close range, but this weapon is for chasing people down that are running from you. You need that reach to weaken them, because if you go chasing them with the sword, although you can kill them very quickly, it doesn't have the reach, and you're not able to catch them and hit the hits all the time. And sometimes people are laggy. The other thing is, if you're in a group of people, say a group of knights or a group of whoever's doing melee, if you're using a sword, you're going to have a bunch of friendly fire. If you're using a spear, you can direct all the attacks onto target without having to worry about friendly fire. So that is the benefit of this. The other thing is that the spear is very easy to throw. So even if, say, you're going to bum rush somebody, you could run through, throw this, pull out the sword. All right. So it's a very versatile weapon. So even if you want to like rush down a corridor, it's very useful to start with your spear and be able to run at the person properly. So you're able to come through here, spear, Didn't get my sword out fast enough. But it gives you a chance to kind of make them flinch and to give them a good shot of damage before you get in. Now, here's the big thing, all right, with the spears and everything else, because we want to look at a couple things. When we look at this medieval sword, when you fight a player, I wouldn't do this with a spear because it's going to be hard to hit. But the big thing with automatic weapons, everyone's favorite guns, they're good at medium range, they're good at long range. They're still pretty effective at close range, but their weakness is melee weapons because if you get into a fight with somebody who has a melee weapon, they get in your face, especially something like the medieval sword, and they are able to get up on you and you target their melee weapon and I hit it once, it is now at 59%, which means it's in the the area that it's going to jam. So literally, if you have an assault weapon and say we're in a bunker or something, and you try to push me through a doorway, or if I decide to rush you and I get around a corner on you, and you start to fire full auto, I can get one or two hits on that gun, and it's damaged. It is done. It is jammed, and you are dead. That is the weakness of the assault rifles compared to everything else, is that a melee weapon, the one thing that they have over every other weapon in the game, is that they can damage items very effectively. So one auto attack on a gun is going to cause that thing to jam. And it even went down farther in durability there. Now, you can do damage with melee, but it's not nearly as much. As well, it's going to be hard to hit. Now, something like a katana, which is like a very, very in-game, you can see that one hit from that is taking this out. So if you want to completely destroy a weapon, one hit from a katana can very well one-shot a gun, as well as completely destroy a player. Okay, that's not really super debatable. Now, you can use these, but you can tell the attack very slow. Personally, I would not recommend using this. It is slow and unwieldy. Okay, and it's not doing as much damage as even the medieval sword. The advantage this has, though, is that you can get the uppercut shot to get up underneath people, but I would not recommend still to use these axes. I would use fast weapons like the medieval sword, target their weapon. It is the best shot that you have using melee. Now, here's going to be the next thing, okay? You can see that this character, he's a PvP character. He does not have thievery. Personally, I use this guy as like anti-base raiding and stuff. I use him for base defense. I help people defend their bases with them. My other character has the lockpicking skill and everything else that you need for that. Now, what I'm going to tell you is do it. One of the biggest things that people have when they come to this game and they're trying to raid bases, one is their equipment. So if you were able to claim kills, if you were able to push them when they're at a disadvantage and destroy their equipment, their guns, and they're not able to reacquire it, a lot of people don't bring enough supplies to keep themselves going. The other thing is that their cars hold a lot of their supplies, which is why lockpicking can be very good. However, you can also slow them down as much as possible using melee weapons. So if you're able to actually deal enough damage to their car, pop their tires, you can now turn this into a car raid to them. So they're going to be trying to get into your base. They're going to try and go back to their car and get their stuff. And they're going to try to take your loot out with this car, but then they're going to realize that their car can't drive. So that is something very important to notice, is that they could try and hoof out with your loot on foot, but a lot of people aren't going to do that. So if they happen to take over your base and get inside and you can find their car, you can deactivate this car, wait for them to come back, kill them off there, and then they're going to have to either leave the base and fight for this car, or they're going to have to try and stay in the base and destroy your loot. So the raid just keeps going. But you can see we got some damage on the car. And although the car is drivable, it's not necessarily what you want to do. Now, how many hits it would take to destroy a car, I can't particularly tell you. But I do know that you can completely ruin a vehicle and significantly affect somebody's ability to get raiding supplies and stuff with this. Unless they put all their stuff in boxes and prepare all that, which isn't common. Okay. But I'm going to take the time here to try and see how much damage, if any, I can do to this thing, because I don't think you can do an awfully lot to them. Alright, so we are doing damage. This is going to take you a little bit. But you can destroy their car and get access to their base looting materials, right? So as long as your team, because this is the biggest thing on the multiplayer server that I'm on right now, is that we can defend bases for hours, right? But it just does not end unless you stop them from getting supplies. And the biggest thing to do that is finding the supplies. Now, if it's in a car and you don't have lock picking, then you can still destroy the car. Now, if you use guns, they're going to hear you. If you use a melee weapon, it's not necessarily noticeable. And bows can be good, but you can also break your arrows and stuff as well. So that is important. The other thing is probably you can push their vehicle sometimes, depending. Now, what was the last thing I was going to do? All right, there's two more things that I want to do here. So one, base walls. And two is going to be trader price, because you might be thinking I have a 50 cal pistol that I can craft, but I can't get ammo for it because I can't get advanced engineering. Although you can have another character make advanced, or make the bullets for you. I don't want to say that's what you have to do. So set God mode true, and this could change at some point. So this wall has 205 HP. I don't know if they still allow you to actually damage the walls with melee weapons. I think they stopped this, but I'm not positive. Okay, so they might have stopped that. That's fine. Now we're going to go to the trader. Now this isn't going to be a multiplayer trader, so you can't really say that this is going to be the same price on every server or anything, but I'll give you a ballpark idea. So basically, when it comes to the knight build, and probably if you're a pure PV, like a melee character, you're not necessarily going to want to use the guns, right? Guns are not going to be the reason that you're doing this. Now, what I will say is that guns sell for good money. That's the main thing. I will also say if you want to build a castle right here in A0 is a very nice spot for me anyway, because it gives you a bottleneck on all these roads, and that you have access to this trader as well. All right. Now eventually they'll have horses in the game, and that's what I'm really hoping for my knight character. And if I need to go like medium animal handling, I definitely will do it. And this is where basic driving and stuff can come in handy. Because you'd be stalling out a whole lot right now. That's very annoying. So PvP wise, this is a very good deal to have at least basic driving. Alright. I'm going to spawn in a couple things. So we can spawn, let's say we spawn the M16. Let's see about an AK. AK 47U. Okay. So we gotta get AK and an M4. And let's just say that. Jeez. Alright. So we got a couple hits on that. And let's just see how much we can sell this stuff for. So we killed a player. He had a couple guns on him. $369 and $1,800. Now this is on a single player server, so I'll also come on here and we can look at the sword. This is the other reason why I collect these medieval swords. They sell for good money. Now, I could do probably a video over making money in this game, but for me, I collect collect helmets and I collect swords because I use them and people that I know can use them, and they're very effective what they are, but also because they can sell for a decent bit. Now, this is single player, so they're selling a little bit more than average right now because they don't normally sell for that. So like things like this night helmet will sell for like 300 to 600 bucks or something on the server. Swords are fairly nice for the most part, and I like using these a lot for melee combat. So those are all good. But basically all these you can sell to the trader and make a good profit off of it. And people like to stockpile guns. Okay? Now, if someone raids my base, they can get a few swords, sure, and they are worth a decent bit, but they're not worth as much as guns and ammo and all that, right? For a one slot item that I can have that can do pretty much everything for me, they have to have, 3, 4 items plus ammunition, plus toolboxes and stuff like to repair it. So they're gonna have a lot more loot than you. And now when we go in here and we look at the ammo, let's see what we can buy here. Make sure what ammo this takes because I don't remember. Yeah, 50 cal. So probably spawned in the wrong ammunition a second ago. So we got AP is expensive, but 700 right here, 1500 for here. So like the 50 cal ammo is expensive. So personally, I probably would want to try and craft this, but finding somebody to craft this for you probably won't be too difficult, or having an ult crafted it for you wouldn't be too difficult. Um, but buying this for like 700 still isn't terrible. If you get a gun out of it, you sell that gun, like we sold that one for 2K, we sold that M4 for enough to pay for an ammo box. All right. And until they change this, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So we're getting 30 rounds for this pistol. 700 bucks. 30 rounds. Now that isn't a bad trade-off. Now, these improvised pistols, they do not jam as far as I've seen. They do not really break as far as I've seen. So even at 0%, you can use these. So if someone's raiding your base or whatever, you can use this gun for as long as you want. And then when you die, they're probably not going to want to use it. All right? They might, but it's not going to be that big a deal. And if they use an improvised gun, you have a chance with your bow to finish them off as well. But also the crafting recipe. So here's a big one, all right? People want their M4s and stuff, but the crafting recipes for these guns are very, very simple. Now I'm going to showcase, this is a small stick bolt metal pipe, duct tape. Very cheap. You can make this for a couple $100. So literally you could sell one of their guns for 2,000 and then build like 6, 7, maybe 8 of these. Very effective. Let's go over here and find this armored puppet. And we're going to shoot him in the chest. Okay. So let's see, do this. Well, that one actually killed him. That was my bad. But you can see that this gun, tremendous amount of power. and easily replaceable. So you're looking at one shot and then 2 auto attacks to kill this guy in armor. And for 700 bucks to carry this around just to get a potential lucky shot on somebody, not a big deal. Now, if you are into the medieval knight aspect, kind of like I am, I don't see this as a problem because medieval knights did have to deal with guns. So, but you can see how these combinations of weapons can be potentially very lethal, correct? That's probably like a neck shot or something. And then we had one spear throw and he's done. So if you just throw a spear, it's going to do damage, but it's not going to be that dangerous, potentially, all right? But you do a 50 BMG shot, they're hurting. They can't afford to get hit again. And you can reload this and take your time, or you can just pressure them and bum rush with the spear. So you can literally just pick this up and run at them. And then when you get to them, if you don't want to throw it, just go right into the actual hit. Now, right now, it's going to look a little weird just because I'm not as fast as I'm going to be. But in a few days, you would have enough speed to actually hold this. But you can also be going with your spear or whatever. Throw your spear at somebody and like run off or whatever you need to. And then go back with the pistol shot. Only like 4 shots or something. But you see, it gives you a lot of versatility in general. But those are probably the best tips that I could give you just for melee gameplay. It's not the best tips in the world. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of situations where melee can get you killed. But I'm going to tell you also that there's a lot of situations where melee is a lot better than you think, especially when it comes to base raids. If you build your base right and you are able to weaken some people or kill people, I can't tell you the amount of times that you're going to be able to run out. So let's say that these are like players, all right? So like let's say you have like an armored puppet and they had like a couple of guns laying out or whatever, and this is at the very beginning of the game and very beginning of the raid. If you didn't want to have to like deal with a lot of stuff, you could drop all your gear, your equipment, your bow, your quiver, everything, and then you're going to be able to say like say that dude's wounded. You jump off of a building or something into the fray. And the thing is if there's 2 or 3 of them close together, they can crossfire and hit each other, right? So you want to position yourself around one of their characters so they shoot their own guy in the back. And then afterwards, having a hard time hitting this one. That's literally all you got to do, and boom. So if you don't have time to pick up all their gear, all you got to do is smack their gear a few times, and these are no longer usable. Unless, and then, you know what a lot of people do in raids? They come back and they try to get their guns. And what happens when they try to get their gun and they can't shoot them? They're just dead ducks. They're in the water. But also a big point is that a lot of people who are defending bases don't tend to leave the base to try and get the fame off of the dead bodies. And that's the biggest issue because they come back and then they claim the fame off the dead bodies. And then they don't run out of fame and they keep coming back. Although their timers keep increasing, they just don't lose enough fame to keep them from coming. So when it comes to a raid, there's a few things that you need to do. You need to cut off their supplies, which you can do with melee weapons very effectively. You need to cut off their ability to escape with your goods, which you can do with the melee weapon very effectively. You need to be able to get rid of their fame points, which melee effective weapons allow you to do. And then you need to be able to destroy their equipment that they have on the ground with them so they can't get it back. And if you can't pick it up, then it doesn't really matter, does it? So all I can say here is like one of the biggest examples. People use airlocks with multiple doors, and they'll like put a landmine or something in there. If your base is built right, you should be able to jump into those airlocks. So say, how do you do this? All right, so say like hiking backpack. So say there's like a hiking backpack, and then you have, I don't know, screwdrivers or something. And the dude is lock picking your doors. All right? That guy can't defend himself. This is the biggest thing with the lock pickers require somebody to defend them. Otherwise, they're going to die. Now, a lot of people don't expect players to rush them, and so it becomes a lot bigger of an issue when all I got to do is not even have armor. All I need is a sword, and I can jump over the wall and destroy your lockpicker. Absolutely destroy him. Like he's not going to be able to lockpick at all. He's going to be either dead or he's going to be dying, pretty much. Now, the only thing I can say is like, say he dies or whatever. Boom. All of his raiding supplies are gone. This is what you got to use your melee weapons for. This is why it's important to have a high melee skill, or at least if you're going to be a high melee skill character, to know this is your role in raids. This is your role in raids. You need to destroy their gear fast. Now, I don't care if you want to take the backpack. You can, all right? There's nothing stopping you from jumping over that wall and taking this backpack. But in really serious raids, you may not have time to get that backpack and get back inside the base. But you will have time to destroy that backpack. All right? And if they lose their raiding supplies, the raid is over. That is basically it. You have the power to stop a raid with your sword at the very beginning. Now, let's say this puppet is lockpicking the door, and you jump over the wall and you get behind him. His friends want to save him. He's in the lock. He can't move. All right? Now, he's probably going to be prone, but you can auto attack the ground very quickly as well, if not faster than just doing this. All right? And it's going to take them a few shots to take you out. Even if you land 2 hits on that guy, that's going to be like 60, 70 damage plus 2 C3 bleeds. He's not going to be able to lockpick again unless he heals or dies. Anyway, this is a kind of an overview of what I've seen with melee weapons playing with my Dragon Knight build. If you want to give the Dragon Knight build a shot, give it a go. It's not the best in the world. It's not the worst in the world. I will say it is very, very strong at the very beginning of the game. For very little input, I mean, you can already see, like, just shooting those archery bolts from before. We got 2,000 something XP here. And then with rifles, long range shots. I mean, you can see we already got 2,000 something XP here. Long range shots with a rifle. If you get a sniper and you don't put an optic on it, and you do a decently ranged shot, you can get 2,000 XP per round. That's how fast this levels. Plus, you can use crossbow bolts or whatever else, and with the high enough strength that we have, you can use those very effectively. Um, I guess I will go ahead and show you that before we leave off with this. So, spawn item, crossbow bolts. Let's just do metal. Actually, let's do a carbon. Carbon. All right, so here's the other thing with bows and crossbow bolts. The explosive arrow, very effective. Carbon bolts are only like $32 on multiplayer servers. So you can literally stock up on these carbon bolts really quickly. And even having no rifle skill, you're going to be able to use these at the very beginning of the game, which potentially could be better than actually using a rifle. Mm. Um, let's go. Let's go improvise crossbow if possible. I also think people sleep on the importance of crafted weapons because all these crafted weapons give you skill points. Everyone wants the super advanced. So this is the improvised skill bow or improvised crossbow. Now we're not the fastest at loading it, but we're not the worst. So that was 3 bolts. We got a few hundred skill points. Nothing too serious to write home about. But I guarantee you, if you get a decent rifle shot, you get quite a lot of XP for it. Okay? You just got to be like, like 100 meters or something, and you do one rifle shot to the head, which is pretty easy to do. You get a lot of XP for it. Is he in the bush? Yeah. That's a very long distance as he's able to see me. So this thing has a very large drop off. But even like the black bow, those aren't very hard to find. Crossbow. The automatic crossbow is very strong. I would definitely recommend using uh I wouldn't use the automatic crossbow everywhere, but base defense 100%. So this thing right here, 1167. All right, so you're getting like 300 or so XP. So we're at, and we get, okay, so you get XP for loading guns. 61. I mean, this would be a terribly slow way to level the skill, but I'm just saying that you could technically macro this. I was wondering if he would pick it up, but basically you'd have to just have it click F All you got to do is have it click F and shoot. I mean, that's not hard to do. Okay, but that also makes me wonder, so if you do M4, I'll probably just do the crossbow method. I mean, but with that many points, I mean, it's probably better just to actually use the bow divided by 10. 111,000. Let's say that takes, I don't know, let's say it takes 5 seconds. 154 hours. It's better probably just to like level the skill with guns. But yeah, that's the gist of all the melee skill stuff, all right? So, give it a shot if you want. Don't be scared of the 1.5 intelligence. I know it bothers me a little bit too, and honestly, I was going to put this at 1 at the very beginning, but I couldn't make myself put it at 1 because it bothered me so much that I couldn't get it to medium. Like just the skill bars just bugged me quite a lot. Also, it's nice to have the awareness for hunting, so medium awareness for hunting is very good. It also makes it not too bad to like, you know, make arrows or whatever, and I can at least get decent medical and decent sniping. So this is going to be a pretty decent character in general. The only issue is that you're not going to be able to buy the 50 cal ammo, but you can craft the shotgun ammo. And I would say that if you're going to craft ammunition, I would probably only craft the 50 cal ammo. Huh. All right.